with Frank Bumm.
Testing 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1. Oh, come on, what's going on here? Hey. Yeah. So, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted, you know, it's true. There was this one time I was trying to have a deep and meaningful conversation with myself, but I couldn't get a word in edgeways. On and on, drone after drone. All I wanted to talk about was my own damn problems, my own damn family weirdos, my own damn dirty laundry, underpant after soiled underpant. Honestly, in the end, enough already. I just lost it and told myself to shut up. We haven't spoken since. Which is why I just want to thank you for coming with me on our shared narrative adventure. It means a lot to me. Okay, so since we've been in this audio-verbal relationship for about 4 sentences now, I suppose we better be formally introduced. My name's Frank Bumm. That's Bumm with 2 M's. Yeah, I know. I hate the name Frank. I'd much rather have one of those good, strong biblical names, like Maha Shalal Hashbaz. But my mother couldn't spell it. Neither could I when I was born. I guess a name like Maha Shalal Hashbaz would have got me in a lot of trouble at school. Imagine having a whole roll call dedicated to just one name. I think a name like Maha Shalal Hashbaz would really work for you at the Academy Awards. You win one category, you get 3 trophies. On the downside, they could never get your email address right. So you'd never find out about your ultimate professional wonderfulness. Isn't life tragic? I suppose being called Frank is all right. It's better than being called Hey Scum. That'd really clash with my surname, especially if you spelt scum with 2 M's. And I suppose Frank is better than being named Salman Rushdie. I'd hate to be named after a fish. They get such bad publicity. I went to school with a guy who was named after a fish. His name was Screwer Mullets. Yeah, Screwer Mullets. I know, it's not even proper English. Should be Screw Them Mullets. Suppose it's okay, because he was Greek. Our headmaster decided that no one was allowed to say Screwer Mullet's full name in public. He hates bad grammar. So Screwer Mullets had to have different bits of his name on different rolls. The poor bugger had to do 4 laps of the playground just to get his name marked off. A couple of times he missed a lap. So a note went home to his parents saying that bits of Screwer Mullets were not attending school. And if this did not change, these bits would be caned, suspended and or expelled. I think they made good on their threats too, but the details are a bit sketchy. There was this rumour that the headmaster had suspended A. Mullets, but I seem to recall it was always the screwy bit that was getting into trouble. Yeah, old screwer mullets. You'll never guess what we called him for short. Peter. Strange, because his name was George. George Screwer Mullets. Yeah, he ended up changing his name by deed pill. Everything's so convenient these days. He changed his name to Mulletson. Said he looked it up in a book and he liked the meaning. Son of a mullet. I know. It's hard to believe he never became a rocket scientist. At first, Mulletson wanted to change his name to Priscilla Spreadberry. But that was taken by some other guy. I forget his name. Just another of life's little tragedies. But I guess that's what makes me different. I'm not afraid to talk about death. Like, when I go, I don't want to be buried or cremated. I want to be laminated. Just like my Auntie Beryl. Not that she had a choice. Her lanyard caught in the laminate rollers and it just pulled her right through. But at least she died doing what she loved, sniffing hot plastic. We pulled out the drawing pins and threw away the corkboard and just stuck it to the fridge. Han Solo style. Cost us a fortune in fridge magnets. But at least her grandkids can have fun drawing on her with texters. And the colour just wipes away. My contribution to recycling. Actually, at this point, I really should disclose the full implications of my genetic lineage. I mean, just in case, this is a post-COVID world after all. So, firstly, I come from a long line of bums. It's a line of two, but it's a long line of two. A line that stretches back to just outside a haberdashery store in an obscure village from an obtuse valley next to an obnoxious fork in the road on the Austrian-Swiss-Germanic border. And I mean right on the border. I'm talking the exact spot where those three countries meet every Wednesday for cheese and lederhosen. Of course, back in the old country, the bums were actually known as the Von Bums. But even that's a contraction. The original family was given the title of Von Hun le Bum. Von was the Austrian bit, Hun was the German bit, and the bum bit was completely the fault of the Swiss. Apparently everything in Switzerland has to refer to something that's cold and has a hole in it. As for the le bit, well, as we all know, the French are always poking their nose in, especially when there's a bum involved. Let's face it, you never can trust the French. The Bums are a very mixed family. My mum was a Mormon. My sister was a Moonie. My dad was a certified practising accountant. Yeah, it was Dad who really screwed me up. When I was young, he used to force me to go to Sunday school, but after a while, it got a bit boring. So when I turned 27, I just stopped going altogether. It was about then I got a job with the Tobacco Institute as a billboard graffitiist. I had to go around defacing advertisements for healthy products. I came up with some pretty good slogans, like fruit juice melts brain cells. Apples, think what they're doing to your lungs. Milk kills, that's why they don't tell you what goes into a cow. But it wasn't all negative stuff. I also had to write pro-tobacco letters to the papers. Things like, you have more chance of being run over by a truck than by a cigarette. And no one ever drowned in tobacco. Strangely, none of these withering arguments were ever printed. So one day the boss called me in and said, "Bum, we're showing you the door." I said, "Nice door." He said, "Well, I'd like to see you on the other side of it." So I cut a hole in it for him. I've got a fourth cousin who became a brain surgeon. You see, a few generations ago, that side of the family tree had been very selfish with their surnames. My great-great-grandfather was Mr. Big. He married Gertrude Foot. So they became the legendary Bigfoots. Their son, Arnold, rather recklessly fell in love with one of the Arnott's Biscuit Fruitcake Prendergasts. So the whole thing ended up being Bigfoot Arnott's Biscuits Fruitcake Prendergast brackets Yarra Glengowie closed brackets. The brackets bit slipped in when Arnold was reciting his name to a rather dim celebrant at the registry. And under Australian family law, once it's written down on a piece of paper, the name has to stand. His whole wedding ground to a halt when they couldn't find enough pens to sign the marriage certificate. And so that name ended up passing down the generations to my fourth cousin. He was always getting worked over at school because by the time the teachers had marked his name off, all the other kids had missed their bus. So he was always having to come up with excuses for not getting into a fight. One day, during his ritual bashing at the bus stop, he blurts out, just the face, don't break my hands, I'm a brain surgeon." And right there, he got this blinding flash to change his name to Tobias Brain Surgeon. It stopped the punch-ups, but now he gets asked really difficult medical questions at parties. Especially tough since he's a greengrocer. So he usually answers these tough medical questions by saying, "Take 2 cauliflowers and call me in the morning." I don't know if it's good medical advice, but it really works as a pickup line. He gets a lot of callbacks. Seeing my fourth cousin being bashed up all the time really made me glad that Mum ditched the Bigfoot, Arnott's Biscuit, Fruitcake, Prendergast brackets, Yarra Glengowie closed brackets references. When she married Dad, she made a firm decision to spend the rest of her days just being a bum. Yeah, but as it turns out, I'm adopted. Just after I was born, my mother discovered she was infertile. Just like her grandmother. Apparently it runs in the family, dominant on my father's side. So my parents, because they're infertile, they get put on the adoption waiting list. By strange coincidence, on the very same day in the very same hospital, another child was born to an infertile mother who also got put on the adoption waiting list. And the hospital got the two mothers mixed up, so I ended up being adopted by my own parents. Now I've got these massive abandonment issues, coupled with hoping I'm adopted because my parents are so embarrassing. Consequently, I've decided to search for the adopters I never knew. It's just for medical records, of course, and I really just want to find out who I don't look like. Anyway, in the meantime, I think I'll just go off and get myself laminated. See you on the squishy side. Thanks for me, comrades.